All right, welcome to episode 42 of the Coffee Squad podcast. It's just Jake and I, and today we are going to do kind of a year in review, discuss some things that went on this year and kind of some of the topics we went over.
Will, do you really want to do a year in review, or do we just want to
just press the
hit
fast forward button.
And move on and go to 21?
When I was doing the outline for this, I was like, it was just one hit after another. And I saw this thing out there and it's like, hey, it was God talking to one of his angels or whatever, said, hey, did you get all the tragic events done for the 2020s? And the guy's 2020s plural. He's like, I thought you meant 2020. He's like, you did everything in 1 year. So that's just kind of what.
No kidding. Like. It does, man. It's been a crazy ride and a crazy year. I heard it's 2020. So think about when you're 20 years old and then think about what happened when you're 21. And so do we really want to look forward to 21? If 2021 acts like we did when we were 21, I don't know.
I'll never forget my 21st birthday. I was in the middle of Germany training with the German paratroopers. It was cold and snowy in the middle of the night. And I was doing a training movement. Lots of fun.
I was sitting at home. I couldn't walk. I jacked up my ankle pretty good. I was like the first of many ankle issues. So
you're a walking injury.
Yeah. So we're going to go over kind of the podcast, where we started back in, when was that, man? It seems like forever ago. Was that April, May timeframe?
Yep. Right in there, into April. Yeah.
Yeah. And we're not going to bore everyone going through all 41 episodes of the podcast, but we will go down memory lane a little bit, I think, today. So what a year it's been, man. Pretty crazy, pretty wild. So, Mr. Coffee Connoisseur, what are you sipping on today?
So I'm sipping on my Black Rifle Coffee Company. They're having a good year too, right? But Atomic Orca. So it's pretty good. It's a Papua New Guinea medium roast. So it's one of their specialty small batch blends that they do. I happened to re-release it during this time of year, and I was able to grab me a bag, and I got a nice little shirt. You really can't see it with the Atomic Orca and stuff on it. Then I'm also drinking a liquid IV vitamin C immune booster and hydrator. So essentially,
what flavor of that?
It's tangerine.
Oh, nice. That's a good one.
Yeah. So liquid IV is essentially 1 16-ounce bottle of water is equal to 3 16-ounce bottle of water. 16-ounce bottle of water is the way they have it. And then this one has extra zinc and vitamin C and all that stuff, It's supposed to help protect you, even though your body probably can't absorb it all and it gets flushed out anyways. But hey, whatever.
So I was down in liquid IV on the paddle. So Danny Nichols, if you're listening, great heads up on that. I think that definitely helped with that horrible fun day of doing the channel crossing.
They're really good for a night after, day before, or right before and right after drinking stuff that helps dehydrate you. It definitely helps get you at least helps me get back on my feet a little bit. So
yeah, when I was in the Q course, we all rented, there was like 4 of us that rented a house. Everyone were medics. And so as they were going through the 18 Delta, the medic portion of the course, we had a chandelier in the living room and a table. We never ate at the table. We weren't a family, but like 4 or 5, single dudes. And I learned how to do IVs on Fridays and Saturday nights, because after coming home, so we had set up everything before we went out, and I was always the DD, and I'd come back and learn how to, shoot IVs into everyone, and they're good to go the next morning. So
you got to load them out there. And we had CLS Combat Lifesaver. We had at least, I think, 2 per squad. So I was a CLS, my roommate was one too. So we both trained, and some of those bags went missing and were used, repurposed in other fashions. So
you continue training, man. You continue training. That's what you did.
Yeah. What were you drinking, or what are you drinking this morning?
Man, that's a San Pellegrino, the Momenti. It's a pomegranate black currant. It's a decent little flavored drink. Not bad. I think it has like 8 total carbs in the whole thing. So between that and my water, I'm pretty good. So I did buy, getting ready for the new year, like getting really back into really good shape. So there's this company called Prove It. It's like a keto mix. It helps you get into ketosis a little bit faster. So yeah, I'll start doing that here right after Christmas. I also bought a rower. So hopefully I'm 40 pounds lighter this time next year. So who knows if,
I say that every year, and it seems like I just go the other way. So
yeah, I don't know. I got a new running leg coming up here in the next few weeks. So I'm excited for that. So we'll see. We will see.
I blame
So,
it on COVID for
well,
the
that's the thing. So that's
extra weight this year. So
well, yeah. So, the COVID 20 we all started with back probably like in June. Now it's turning into the COVID 40.
yeah.
Like COVID isn't going away. I think everyone thinks like, oh, 21, it's going to be a miraculous year. We have a new president, new this, new that. And it's like, I don't think things are going to change. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, I mean, I was looking at some of the numbers. I mean, we can go ahead and hop into, or yeah, we can talk about COVID right now, and then we'll go back to the question if we get time. But so I was looking at some of the numbers. So there's 328 plus million people in the U.S. And out of those, I got this from the CDC website today, so it is as up to date as possible. There's been 16 out of the 328 plus million people. There's been a total of 16.8 million people who've tested positive. And out of that 16.8 million, a little over 306,000 have unfortunately died. So, I mean, it's not going anywhere, but it's not as the mortality rates of 1.8%. And I got that from Johns Hopkins University, which is, pretty well respected university, right? So,
Yeah.
I don't think that it's obviously not going to go away. I don't understand how they're talking about it. We're going to get. I understand herd immunization, herd immunity. I get that whole concept. I just don't understand how we're supposed to reach that within, what did Fauci say, like 6 to 8 months or something like that. I don't see that happening. But that's just me. I'm not a scientist, so I don't know. It's not going anywhere. It's been around. Different versions have been around forever, so it's not going anywhere. And it's frustrating to see. I mean, I know people who've lost businesses and stuff like that, and I have friends who have lost family members as well. It's tragic when they die, but a 1.8% mortality rate just to me isn't worth it to keep the lockdowns that we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, look, and we try to stay like apolitical here, and it's hard to do, with this main podcast, with the stuff that's going on. My personal feelings, and this is just me, Jake, talking, no one else, not for a company, not pushing anything else. I am a big believer of like personal choice, and that's what this country is, founded upon. So look, hey, everyone hears me say this a lot, like, hey, what's the risk? Well, the risk is COVID, and whatever that line of COVID is, whether you're asymptomatic, you're down for a few weeks, or could be longer depending on the person, or eventually death. That's the risk.
Yep.
Or that's the threat. The risk varies from asymptomatic to death, anywhere between there. Yep. And so my thing is, it's an individual choice, and it should be an individual choice. I don't think the government should ever shut down, rarely, like extreme cases. And look, I know people who I'm good friends with argue on the opposite side of like, look, this is an extreme case. They should shut things down. You have hospital workers and other people that are getting this. If they get it, we're going to die. And this is just my personal thoughts and viewpoints on this. It should be a personal choice. Look, if businesses want to shut down, that's on them. That's their prerogative, right? If they want to mandate that you wear a mask and they have certain hours and everything else, and that's them. It's part of living in a somewhat of a free society. We're not completely in a totally free society, or that's anarchy, but we still live in a society. And so my thing is the government shouldn't pick and choose who can stay open and who can't. And that's the one part of this that I struggle with quite a bit. Wearing a mask, hey, if you want to wear a mask, wear one, great. If you don't want to wear one, don't, if you don't want to go out because you're scared, don't go out.
There's options for everybody. Most everybody.
So those, again, I don't want to get political. We have enough political divide in this country, in my opinion. And I say that, but I also think, let's take this into perspective. We say there's political divide in this country. There is a little bit. However, the news media, and they're corporate ran. So they get paid off of ratings and advertising. So the more doom and gloom they can do, the more they can pit, one over the other. I mean, for 4 years, you heard, the news media on the left, you heard about Russia, Russia, Russia. Now on the right, you're hearing China, China, China. Again, it's doom and gloom. One's celebrating on one side, the other one's going to be doom and gloom on the other for the next 4 years. And so take that into, know your sources and take that into account and realize that there's so much bias out there. So,
yeah.
And that's the frustrating part, I think, with most of us can all agree with COVID-19 is the hard part is knowing what to believe, because is it personal? Is it professional? Is it political driven? Not to say that the COVID-19 isn't real and it doesn't exist, but the treatment and everything else, where does it stand? And that's, I don't think I'm the most intelligent person. I don't think I'm the dumbest person, but for the average person out there, it's who do you believe? And so that's why I tell people, when people ask me, hey, do what you're comfortable with, do what you're comfortable with and understand your risks. So
it just feels like we've gone away from the science and start listening to the hyperbole. And it's frustrating to me. When it first happened, I understood why we were doing it, flattening the curve and stuff like that. But it's not going away. And you really haven't. I mean, you look at the extreme cases like New York, and then you look at other cases, Florida and Texas, the numbers really, they don't match up, and so it doesn't make sense to keep us in a lockdown where we can't do anything. And you have people who have spent their lives creating businesses.
Yeah. And I think guys like you and I, we have to understand our biases too, right?
Yeah.
Like being in the military, you're a SWAT officer, me doing what I did.
We've learned to accept risks at a higher risk level than most other people. And so we accept it at a higher level than most people. So,
and then also our viewpoints, I was talking to a lady from New York City, older lady, and she, she's terrified of COVID.
Yep.
Because when New York City got hit, it was traumatizing to her, and so looking at it from her perspective gave me a little bit of an understanding of, hey, I live in a small little podunk town here in North Carolina. We are getting hit hard because there's so many retirees down here, and there's a lot of upper level retirement assisted living centers here that, they're carrying most of the numbers for the county that I live in. And so again, be respectful. That's the only thing I think, whenever it gets something on the political issues, I think if we'd all just sometimes shut the hell up and just listen. God gave us 2 ears for a reason and one mouth. And hey, you're talking to someone who likes to talk, obviously. But if we just listen sometimes and kind of put our daggers down, our swords down, and the little shield down and just listen. And it's like, okay, you can get a better perspective and understand where someone's coming from. So that's enough of my hippie peace love talk for you. I'm sure I'm about to make you sick and some of the other listeners, some of my buddies that follow this, but yeah, I mean, so looking at that, we look at that number, right? The total COVID positive cases and the population, if my math is correct, it's just under 20%.
So
you're a marine biologist. Come on, Will. You're smart. You're a lot smarter than me.
I mean, 16 million out of 100 million would be 16%. So 16 out of 300 million would be what, 2 point something percent, right?
Yeah, I do. I was doing my math while you're talking. That's what that clicking was 5 minutes ago. So,
yeah, I think no. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the death rate, not the.
Anyways,
I wasn't strong in math.
well, get us those math numbers. Get those math numbers. So, I mean, so look, we started this right as COVID was kind of getting hot and heavy, this podcast. And it has, and it will be a continual subject that we talk about as we evolve. Um, as the virus evolves, as we evolve, as the vaccine. I mean, hey, that's some great news that came out with a vaccine. You know, 95% efficacy rate. That's pretty huge, in my opinion, for something so short and so new, and that should be celebrated, in my opinion. All the you know the the rapid release of it. I'm scared of it. I'm not gonna. I've taken probably every shot known to man.
Mhm.
That the
I mean,
military
who
gave. I mean,
knows what you actually took when you were in the military? I don't know how
yeah.
it
I
was for
mean,
you, but when
the
I was
anthrax shots, like,
you lined up like cattle, and you were just going through, and they had the two air
mhm,
pneumatic. Poof, 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 poof.
yeah,
I have no
yeah,
idea what am I getting? Don't worry about it. Go, and then you
yep,
get the nice penicillin one at the back end, and you got a duck walk for a half hour. So
yep, yeah. And then like with the war on terror and everything. I mean, the
smallpox,
one that was,
anthrax, all that
yeah,
good
I got
stuff.
the smallpox. That thing itched like crazy. But then the
Yep.
anthrax one, that was miserable. And then it was like, well, you get it. And then, we all know how the government is with losing paperwork and keeping data on stuff. So sometimes you got the same treatment multiple times. And anthrax is one of those, like, yeah, it's a series. It's a series of shots, and you
Yep.
have to get your booster every so often. And, there's a lot of speculation, controversy regarding the anthrax shot. But my thing, I guess, with COVID-19 with this is the phase 2 and the phase 3 testing, which again, I am by no means a medical professional. I have a bunch of friends that work in the pharmaceutical industry, bigwigs, and that's what, again, it's hearsay, is the animal and the human testing. There just wasn't enough time, which, hey,
Yeah.
understandably so, right? We're in the middle of a pandemic. It's freaking everybody out, not just here in the US, globally. It's freaking
Yep.
people out. Uh, who have access to the internet and the news, probably. Everyone else who is oblivious to it probably doesn't realize what's going on. But yeah, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna let other people be guinea pigs this time, and
Well, we're level 4, I think, and it comes to the levels, different levels. I know I fall in like the very last level, I think, and so do you probably. So
I'm much more important than you will. So I got to be at least a
definitely
half
in your
a half tier more above you. But you can have my slot. Yeah, I think the vaccine is awesome. I think, is it Moderna that came out today that said
Yep.
that they got approved. So it's going to be a while for everyone to get the vaccine if they want it. The flu vaccine's out, and look, the flu vaccine, it's the roll of the dice. They pick a few strains that they think. I mean, I shouldn't say it's a roll of the dice. It's an
It's a
educated guess
calculated guess, yeah.
of what strain's going to be out there, and they, now they're mixing a few of the vaccines into one of the shots. But look, less than half the country gets the flu. I get it every year, so I don't
The
know.
flu or the flu shot.
I probably get both.
Yeah.
I definitely get the flu shot, but my immune system's a lot weaker than what it used to be. So, and maybe that's because I have a poor diet and don't work out as much, and also getting a little older. But yeah, so COVID-19 kick in the pants.
That
I'll
was
keep.
the number one story this year, definitely. That and the election. So yeah.
Yeah. So then after that, as we're going down memory, well, this is depressing, man. Like every time it's just you and I. It's like, I think people got to go on suicide watch, man. Like, hopefully our listeners um, have something positive to listen to or talk to someone after this.
Next week we're doing our special episode. It'll come out like the day after we record it, right before Christmas. So it'll be a nice, fun, relaxing
It's
holiday
a Christmas episode, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So Will, you're probably going to dress up as a Grinch.
No, no.
Are you sure? I mean, because you seem
Cindy
to.
Lou Who?
Who's Cindy Lou?
Cindy Lou Who?
Yeah,
It's
is that part of the
part-
Grinch story?
yes, yes.
Yeah. Again, music, movies, man. You and Ray can have those conversations all day long, man. They're way over my head. So, all right. So George Floyd, right?
That
We
was
had
kind of like next big thing that kicked off 2020 after that.
the
Yeah.
protests and the riots. You had a cool little fact on this one. Why don't you bedazzle our listeners with how many insurance claims went out after that?
So they're still haven't got all of them, and they're going to be disputing some and everything, but and then you think about how many people don't have insurance for this type of event. But right now they're estimating between 1 and 2 billion in insurance claims, and that's going to be like your LA, Portland, Seattle type business, areas,
Yeah.
maybe Louisville. But my question is how many of those businesses, especially small businesses, didn't have that sort of insurance, and they're in dispute with their insurance companies whether or not they're going to cover it, and who knows how much that's going to raise the
Yeah.
2 billion.
And with those protests, right, we talked about security guards and security, doing your due diligence on all of them and everything else like that. But we also talked about your insurance policies.
Yep.
Right. And so, hey, again, if you are a small business owner, even if you are a homeowner, review your insurance policies. I just had, 3 months ago ish, my fridge leaked, a hardwood floor throughout the kitchen. Still not completely done. I mean, I'm 99% done there with a recovery thing, but it was a $30,000, is what the insurance USAA paid out. Hey, I know we don't do a lot of plugs for companies, but USAA is great for the most part. One thing like I had to pay for was my dishwasher. They pulled it out. It sat for like 2.5+ months and stopped working, but I had to pay for a dishwasher. So, but yeah, I read my policy, and other people who read their policy asked me, hey, did you reach out to USA for a food claim because you didn't have a kitchen for 3+ months? And which I did. Again, I got lucky and saw that in the policy. So read those policies, review your policies, make sure that you're covered for what you need. So
Yep.
yeah, I mean the riots and the protests. We're going to talk about the election here, but we thought there was going to be mass rioting after the elections, and we haven't seen it yet.
I think if it had turned out a different way, you may have seen more. But
Mhm.
because of the outcome of it, I don't think it was as protested as it could have been. I think if
And
Trump
it's
had
still
won,
being, it's still there. I mean,
he's
so the
still trying
electoral.
to, but yeah.
I mean, I think it's on life support right now. It's pretty much done that Biden is our elected president. However, he, him and the American people that support it have the right to go through this process. And so,
Yep.
but I think it's all but over. But yeah, we're wrong. We thought again, mass protests, riots would happen, and
I'll take being wrong when it's something like that. So
absolutely, absolutely. So, and then we jumped into, as the Floyd protests and COVID-19's happening, those of us, well, the East Coast, we really did get touched this year. We got really lucky.
a little bit of the hurricanes.
Yeah, the Gulf Coast got
Yeah,
hammered.
the Gulf got hammered. Yeah,
Texas, Louisiana, parts of Florida,
Alabama.
Mississippi, Alabama. Like, my gosh, it seemed like every other week or once a week, like they're just lining up. It was like a bowling alley, man. Like, boom, here comes another strike with hurricane, whatever the hurricane was. They went through the whole thing and had to go to the Greek alphabet.
Yep.
And so there we talked, one of the first few episodes we had Dave Upton on, wicked smart guy, good dude. And he talked about prepping, and it was kind of more of a funny, like, haha, but it was cool, fun, entertaining. And then these hurricanes started hitting, and all this stuff starts happening, and everyone's talking about it. And it's like, maybe Dave is onto something, right? So
yeah. So yeah, I mean, you just look back, and it's well, the wildfires. I mean, Australia was burning there for a while, then California and Washington, Montana, all those western states out there, they were burning. And you look at some of the numbers for that, the California wildfires alone, you're looking at between 130 and 150 billion dollars of damage, over 30 deaths, 8,500 structures were burned down, over 4 million acres, and that's just California. So, I mean, it's costly. And you think that's expensive by itself. And then you start factoring in all the hurricanes. I mean, there's 13 named hurricanes this year, 6 of them major. And like you said, they all, it seemed to come up through the Gulf. And you're talking Isaias, whatever his name is, Laura, Sally, Zeta, Delta, Eta, over 400 deaths. I mean,
look at the billions of dollars for each
billions,
one. So,
yeah. Like
this
6
is
billion, 10 to 12 billion, 10 billion, 3.5 billion, 1.2 billion. And then Honduras got slammed by Eta. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that with the elections, the masks, the vaccines has kind of been the big roll up overall this year. Uh,
Yep.
but good news is we're all here. We're all live kicking.
2021 is going to be better.
Let's hope. I mean, look, as long
Man,
as
I
you
don't
have,
know. Personally, I had a rough year as well. And, it seems like more and more every year I'm like, and next year is going to be the year it gets better. And it's just sometimes, it's hard not to, like,
so
God damn.
so let's talk about that, right? Like a rough year. Most like I know our company, right? We didn't do nearly what we wanted to do. A
Yep.
lot of and we're not the only ones, most people. We're fortunate enough to still have a
Yep.
job. We're fortunate enough to pay for the electricity, have these fancy little computers, these boom mics and everything. Like we're fortunate.
Oh, yeah,
Um
definitely.
compared I would say to most people right now going out. And so I would almost look at this of what what can we do as
Yep.
personally and professionally and business wise too to grow and adapt and to learn.
Well,
And I
I
think,
know working with you and Ray, I've been inspired, I guess you could say. I've spent more time and
damn
money.
right you have.
Well, definitely from Ray, and maybe not so much you, but
Don't take it
uh,
back, man.
but I've definitely given more time and money to charities than probably ever before. Maybe a while, years ago when I was in a better situation, but this year I've definitely given more time and money to charities than I ever have before because as rough as it has been, it actually has been I still have a job. I still have a house over my head. I do feel like I have a lot of blessings to say, things that did go right this year. So,
And and maybe that's something that not just us but everyone, our listeners, viewers out there, like spend this holiday season, this downtime of reflecting of what's important to you and what you're grateful for, right?
yeah.
And then how do we adapt? We've talked business meetings and how are we going to adapt? We had Scott on and talking about drones, and that's something that you know I've pitched to my clients. Hey, I know you don't want me. You don't want an outside person. Not that they don't want me.
Uh,
That they don't want an outside person going into some of these facilities, especially these large plants, and um, possibly infecting their employees and having to shut down the plant. So look at ways that you can go in and do your job. One thing I was talking to a client today is for inventory, they're wearing these helmets with a mask on them. And so as they're doing inventory and stuff, their auditor can be like, okay, that's a serial number. Well, we talked to them like, hey,
like a
right,
GoPro camera on it.
that's a great, but it's live. It's all done through
Yeah.
like a Zoom, and so you can do it live. And so like, you're getting one sensory aspect of that security assessment, but it's better than nothing,
Yep.
and if you can get drones out there and you can sit in the parking lot, so that's how we're adopting to 2021. We are looking at technology and how can we use technology uh, for for business and keep business going and booming. I know ASIS, they talked about drone usage quite a bit, so that yeah. um, we forgot to mention ASIS to the GSX conference. Will,
Oh, yeah. That was a
there
good
goes
time. Yeah. I
there,
mean,
there goes your membership. I'm just
yep.
saying. I'll reach out to their membership committee.
Yeah. Let them know.
So
Does that mean I have to give up
let
my board position, my chair?
possibly, possibly.
But
I'm
you're
sure.
talking about people adjusting. Like a lot of companies are doing more remote workplaces, and I think that's going to be kind of the next the IT guys and stuff like that. It's going to be kind of the next wave that go out there to secure your home networks, which we talked a little bit about. Your remote workplaces, and a lot of companies are doing webinars and stuff like that now. Like we had a meeting with Joe. He was on earlier this year talking about how to build a security business, and he has gone over and now he's doing a lot of webinars on his website. It's lasorsa.com if you guys are interested. And he's got a lot of good webinars on there. You just go to lasorsa.com, training, schedule registration, and he's got free ones, he's got paid ones, whichever level and whatever you're interested in. He's pretty much got you covered. So, and then you're talking about, I don't know, the masks and the vaccines. I know we touched a little bit on the vaccines, but the masks, the controversies, I don't know. I just the more the farther along we get in this, it just seems like it's more and more, what's the proper word? Divisive, right?
Man, Will's giving me like,
There we
hey,
go.
hey, idiot, you muted yourself. Hey, it's Friday. My kids, I honestly, they're on Christmas break. I heard them get a little loud there, so I kind of muted it. And then, of course, now Will's like, hey, idiot, you're on mute. So, what I was trying to say during all that is Joe LaSource's LaSource.com that you mentioned, the website. They're, they have a great webinar coming up if you're in the executive protection. They're going over gear, and some of the latest and greatest gear out there. So that's December 27th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check it out. Registration is free. So it's just go through, look around. There's so much information out there if you're a security professional. We at Freedom Consulting, we have some of our webinars. We do these podcasts. We like to link other people up with other great minded individuals and people that we use in our Rolodex that we trust and use. And Joe has been really instrumental with him. We had lunch with him yesterday, and Joe to me has been a good business friend.
Definitely. Yep.
So we always kind of share ideas and talk stuff, and like he's always willing to give us a helping hand. And for us at Freedom, we want to do the same thing with other people. So if our listeners are out there, if you're in the security industry, if you're thinking about starting your own business, hey, reach out to us. Definitely would love to have those chats and talks with people. And I know, Will, you're coming up with something here in 2021, right? We've talked about adapting and growing, and we've learned a lot through this podcast. At first it was one of those, oh man, I got to do it every week, and I'm not looking forward to it. And now it's like, hey, Will, what are we talking about this week? And Will always has a backup plan for this or that. And
it's scrambling sometimes, but yeah.
But it's gotten to one of those things. It's like you almost miss it, if we're not doing it. So it's been a good thing, and hopefully, as we talked about last week of, we're starting a mini series in January. Listeners have asked, hey, can we dumb this down and bring it into like a very simplistic and basic overview for someone who is not a security professional, how they can secure their home, if they have a small business and they can't afford a security consultant to come in there and help them out, how can we give them the tips and the training that they could use to go. And Will's building out webinars, and we have a whole podcast series for 2021 when we come back January 7th. So yep. I'm excited to have those conversations and see how it plays out.
Definitely. We are taking off the 20th, basically essentially Christmas through the 7th. So you guys will have a few weeks to miss us. We'll, put some memes and stuff out on our Facebook page and stuff like that. You guys can follow and check out. Maybe I'll put out an episode or two just to reiterate some stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'll get Jake to dress up as Santa Claus, and you guys can tell him what you want for Christmas or something. I don't know. We'll figure something out. And then we'll
back. Creepy, Will.
Huh?
Now you're making stuff creepy.
I didn't say that they were going to like it.
Oh, okay. So, Will, as we look at all the topics covered here that you typed up beautifully for me here on the screen, as I'm looking through these, like we've had some pretty fun and awesome characters, like having Danny Nichols on was pretty cool. Good buddy of mine. Like, he talked about the importance of training and, his professional surf background and coaching. And then we had Mike with Team Red, White, and Blue. Mike Irwin on, another great one. We had Ethan and Brian, like Ethan with high value targets, Brian with workplace violence, Cliff with cybersecurity. Of course, we had, Scott, who's come on numerous times and shared his expertise with us. Adam, Mike, and then, we had Doug, which was pretty cool. Your buddy talking about, cop myths and his disdain for for a lot of police shows, and
Yeah.
and making some good points of these shows. Like they seem so realistic, but they're so far
So,
fetched. And
hey, I caught one, not to get off topic, but I caught one the other day that he talked about. And this guy, the whole freaking episode, I mean, I only watched like 20 minutes flipping back and forth, but every time I saw him, he has these cut off gloves on his hands. I'm like, dude, you're walking around.
talking about Hondo, bro. Don't mess with Hondo, man.
What's the point, man? I don't get
Hey,
it.
it's his style. It's his style.
The only things I've ever used those gloves for is for weightlifting.
Well,
I mean,
maybe it's a fashion statement. Michael Jackson only wore one glove, and no one got on him.
yeah. We also had on Herb talking about America, Bobby Lover, and his the mission book. It was really cool. Then we had Justin from Proper Patriot. He was on. That was a fun one. Talked about fishing the next week.
And then we had Steve-O on, right?
Yeah,
Private
Steve,
Eyes, man.
Steve was hilarious.
Steve, I haven't cracked up that much in a long time on a podcast. It reminds me of some of my buddies do one. It's called The Best Pandemic Ever. And they talk about the positive stuff of the pandemic going on right now. And so they kind of put a positive spin on the pandemic. But those two guys who run that podcast are pretty funny. And Steve just reminded me of that, man. It was nothing but, fun and giggles. He did get sick after hearing Will's lovely coffee description, but man, I mean, overall, what a great episode. And for our listeners out there, we've slowly grown from just a handful up to the hundreds. So we appreciate it, and hopefully next year, those hundreds turn into thousands, and we keep growing this. And it's not just for us. We're trying to grow like a global security community where we can discuss topics freely and openly. Maybe not just what's going on here in the U.S., but let's look outside these borders. And I know we have listeners that listen from all over the globe. Will shared the website that we have up that came up about a month ago, and so I think we're gonna for 2021 really focus on this podcast and get that interaction going a lot more. And I know Will has a few ideas up his sleeves that he's ironing out now, and we'll share those as they come up. But overall, I know we're going to do a Christmas episode next week. Keep it nice and short, but to our listeners out there, I think from Will and I, thank you.
We'll have a special guest next week. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's all I got is really, I just want to tell our listeners, thank you.
Yep.
It's been a fun ride. We've covered a lot of topics. And you may hear some of the, a lot of these topics, the basics you're going to hear us talk about every so often as questions come up from our listeners and viewers. But good times overall. Happy to be doing it with you and Ray sometimes. And, it's our guests that really to make it fun, and our listeners when they give us feedback. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely reiterate what Jake said. Thank you to all our followers and supporters. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions or comments. We're always looking for ideas. I mean, I've got it planned out pretty much for the year, but I'm always looking for ideas for days like this when if the initial plan A and B went through the crack and we had to go to plan C. So, I'm always looking for ideas just in case. But do follow us on coffeesquadpodcast.com. You can find everything there, links to our YouTube channel, Facebook, all that good stuff. So just one-stop shopping, coffeesquad.com. I'm sorry, coffeesquadpodcast.com. You can see me in my coffee cup and Jake in his water bottle, and Ray's even there. So appreciate it. We're got one more episode this year, and then we're going to take off a few weeks. We'll come back on the 7th and knock out this Home Security 101.
Awesome. Hey, have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Bye.